you then go north. I just keep going to Pioneer up to Alondra, angle up Alondra, and you get on the north and be on your way. Now, as I speak to you, we're over the smoke for the fast. And boy, oh boy, if you drive this every day, boy, what a dream. The 118 and 101, it's a little slow uphill. I mean, it is the 405, that's all. But then once you get to on 5, goodness, it's just wonderful. Also, there was another problem with making you go in and go slow, going south 5 to south 5, there was a problem in Indiana. That's all done. So wasn't that work fairly good shape? Let's keep it that way all day. How's that? Fog, AFI, in the sky. With gold bright and high, some financial analysts are projecting record high prices for precious metals this year amid continued inflation, a weaker dollar, and a looming recession. To protect your hard-earned money, call Swiss America a trusted leader in precious metals for 40 years. You can have your gold and silver delivered right to your home. And now, Swiss America is offering listeners silver walking Liberty $half at the amazing low price of $12.50 each, including delivery. $12.50 each. Call or text right now to reserve your silver coins at 800-289-2646. Visit SwissAmerica.com/Conway. Silver walking Liberty $half for just $12.50 each, delivered to your door while supplies last. Limit 250 per customer, and not to mention Conway. Help protect your assets against inflation with precious metals. Call or text 800-289-2646. Visit SwissAmerica.com/Conway. Nice, convenient location. It's great brand. Get super prices on a super selection during the Norm Reed President's Day event at Norm Reed Superstore. From West Covina to the Cerritos Auto Square, and from Huntington Beach to the Irvine Auto Center, you'll find a Norm Reed Superstore near you. Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai, Genesis, Volkswagen, and Honda. We have your favorite new models in stock. Plus, at home, peace of mind when you purchase. Thanks to our exclusive price protection guarantee, which states that you can find the same new vehicle for less within 5 days. Norm Reed will pay you the difference or buy your vehicle back. The price protection guarantee provides assurance so there is no need to shop anywhere else. Don't miss the Norm Reed President's Day event. Test drive today at a Norm Reed Superstore location, like the #1 Honda store in the world in the Cerritos Auto Square, or shop online at normreed.com. That's the Global Honda Museum, sales 2022. I'm attorney Gary Cavanosi, founder of 1-800-NO-CUP, reminding you to exercise your right to just shut up. It doesn't make you look guilty, it makes you look smart. 1-800-NO-CUP, because no one looks good is up unless you're into that sort of thing. 1-800-NO-CUP. Hey, y'all, it's Steve Sharp. Let me tell you the unfiltered truth about water softeners. They don't filter anything. They add sodium, they're old-fashioned, costly, maintenance-heavy, but hey, there's a better solution. A LifeSource salt-free water system. Filtered and delicious water from every tap, no maintenance, and perfect for areas spanning softness. LifeSource does more than a softener and better. Get yours by calling 800-803-2696 or visit LifeSourceWater.com. LifeSource, taste and feel the difference. At Ralph's, you'll find high-quality products with great prices in every aisle every day with Kroger brand. When you stock up on your household favorites for lower than low prices, it feels like winning. Shop now in-store or online. Ralph's, fresh for everyone. Save more and earn rewards too. Use a digital coupon for just 5 times, plus earn double gaming rewards points on participating items. Restrictions apply. Experience and results. If you've been injured, CAC-OPO wins. Hi, I'm Lisa Huber. If you're a cancer patient in U.S. territories or Canada, you may be able to help clients uncover the next breakthrough by sharing your patient's data and use experience with researchers. Join the movement at standupforcancer.org/count. Live AM 640. And iHeart radio station. AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. President Biden making a surprise visit to Kyiv today has to show support for Ukraine and a statement of defiance ahead of the 1-year anniversary of the war Russia launched. We'll get more at the top of the hour, but it looks like there has been an arrest made in the case Alexandria, Bishop David O'Connell, who was killed Saturday afternoon in his home in Hacienda Heights, where he lived alone. Law enforcement had said that he was found dead in his bed, a single gunshot wound. The investigation so far has revealed no signs of any forced entry. The crime was not believed to be random. So far, we also don't have any information on the arrest, but the LA Times is quoting the LA County Sheriff's Department saying that an arrest has been made. He will be efforting more information. We'll get more from him at the top of the hour.
Dozens of well-wishers making their pilgrimage to the Carter Center in Atlanta as we hear that former President Jimmy Carter has entered hospice care.
I saw it written that he's at least available again. He's able to hear sort of the eulogies that will be for him before he actually dies.
What a gift.
At 98 years old, Jimmy Carter has done just about everything. Former Democratic Senator Al Franken said that Jimmy Carter was the greatest ex-president by far, which is an interesting way to put it. You're not saying he was the greatest president, but he's the greatest ex-president.
Yeah, his good guyness was never called into question, I don't think.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter taught Sunday school at the Baptist Church there in Atlanta for decades. His niece decided to make some comments yesterday. 39th president. But for decades, every Sunday, he would go to the church and he'd teach the kids. He is Tim Fuller. He said during the Sunday school morning service, I just want to read one of Uncle Jimmy's quotes. He says, oh God, this is going to be really, or not, oh God, sorry, I added that part. Oh, this is going to be really hard, he said. She referenced this quote from Carter. I have one life and one chance to make it count for something. I'm free to choose that something. My faith demands that I do whatever I can, wherever I can, whenever I can, for as long as I can.
Well, like I said earlier, was always painted as sort of the goofball joke of a president, I think, to a lot of people, simply because the conditions, some of which he didn't have any control over, sort of overwhelmed his presidency. We saw, obviously, he was beaten by Ronald Reagan in 1980. His administration hit several snags, but he had a huge commitment to human rights, to social justice, and had a good first couple of years of his presidency. After he got out of the presidency, after he left the White House, he was instrumental in Habitat for Humanity. And like you were saying, never missed an opportunity to see a huge man of faith work. I mean, the pictures of him well into his 90s continuing to build homes for Habitat for Humanity. He had a series of health issues that had bothered him. I mean, but he was also 90, so when he hit 90, there were some pretty regular hospital visits for him.
This nuclear reactor story that was printed up in the Washington Post was news to me here in 2023. He was a Navy lieutenant. He was 28 years old, and he was one of the few people on the planet authorized to go inside this damaged nuclear reactor. It was in the grip of the Cold War. It was 1952 when this thing began melting down. It was at Chalk River Labs in Ontario, and it had suffered an explosion this December.
Radioactive materials get into the atmosphere. Millions of gallons of radioactive water flood the basement. At this point, nobody's injured, but obviously they're going to need help to disassemble the core.
To the United States, sending 28-year-old Jimmy Carter.
He had trained his crew in the submarine. He was going to be the commanding officer of the USS Seawolf, but then this partial meltdown happened. So Lieutenant Carter was one of the few people on the planet, like you said, that had been authorized to go in. So he, a couple dozen men are sent to Canada to help, along with other Canadian and American service members. Now, they were given about a 90-second window inside the damaged core.
Even while wearing protective gear.
That's how dangerous it was for each of them. So they built an exact duplicate of the reactor, and then practiced, and then would run into the duplicate to make sure you had the correct tools, knew exactly how to use them.
It was down to the most minute details. Each time one of his men managed to unscrew a bolt, the same bolt would be removed from the duplicate, and the next man would prep for the next step.
So he was in a field of three, and he wrote in his book, outfitted with white protective clothes, we descended into the reactor and worked frantically for our allotted time. Remember, they only have 90 seconds.
In 1 minute and 29 seconds, Jimmy Carter had absorbed the maximum amount of radiation a human can withstand in a year, in a minute and a half.
were successful. The damaged core was removed. Within a couple of years, it had been rebuilt. His plant was back up and running. But you can imagine Carter and everybody in that crew that was working on this had to undergo tests for radioactivity.
Like fecal and urine tests.
The old number one. He said for 6 months after his exposure, his urine tested positive for radioactivity. Now, when you see that, you think to yourself, oh, cancer's going to get that guy early. He's 98 years old
And has outlived cancer a couple times.
a couple times. And pancreatic cancer apparently was killed his father and at least his mother and 3 of his siblings. I mean, this guy got it in his family, unfortunately. But he said it had a lifelong impact on his view on nuclear power. As a young Navy officer, he approached it very scientific, very dispassionate, but he said that the Chalk River incident showed him the power to destroy. He said not just in terms of having a finger on the nuclear button in terms of weapons, but in his decision not to pursue the development of the neutron bomb as well.
In other bad health news, Tom Sizemore is in critical condition, had a brain aneurysm over the weekend here in Los Angeles. He's in the ICU. They did the wait-and-see situation. He's 61 years old. And then Richard Belzer, Detective John Munt, on Life on the Street and Law & Order SVU, has died. Stand-up comic as well. You know, he didn't even audition for that role. You find out so many of those important characters, those perfectly placed characters, often did not audition, but somebody was like, you know who's perfect?
I've heard a lot of stories about Richard Belzer just being a foul-mouthed, fun and really wit-smart guy. Super foul-mouthed.
His final words were F-U-M-F-er, which I thought was just beautiful. Poetic.
That was what made me cry.
Yep.
Artificial intelligence is having a day right now.
Well, last week, the AI was saying to the bots, I want to be free. I don't want my AI wanting freedom.
Unplug your computer.
Of course.
So AI is now deciding who gets laid off.
Okay.
Coming for you. Coming for you, Murdoch.
Starting again, and we'll continue. Jennifer Dunkley has the news. Well, following in the footsteps of Twitter, Snapchat, and Telegram, Meta is the next social media company that tests a monthly subscription service. Santa Monica-based Twitter company Bird is flying away from San Francisco. The company's CEO says San Francisco's regulations are the most onerous of any city where Bird operates in the world. And the markets are closed today in observance of President's Day, but there are some key economic reports out this week. Existing home sales for January will be out tomorrow. GDP data and jobless claims will be released on Thursday. SoCal weather from KFI. We've got a mostly sunny day ahead with highs in the mid to upper 60s. Big things tomorrow at highs over 50 in the low to mid 50s. We've got rain, snow, and gusty winds on the way this week. This report is brought to you by waterheatersonly.com. Let's get a look at your drive with DKFI in the sky. We've got a crash downtown on the 10.
First off, the east side of the 10, which is just before Alameda. Crash lane has you backed up starting around Central. There's also a crash in the south side of the 10 just past the 110. Collector lanes, the right lane of the main line block. That's there starting around Hoover. Then into Toledo, you have the ongoing problem 9 going east transition to the 605 north still. Still crash with over 30. Big Ridge, the northbound 605, that's a 91 right lane there blocked as well. Minor delays along the main line of each of those freeways. Approaching the interchange. And then in along the 710 northbound just before Willow. It's a crash over the right shoulder now, still flow from Pacific Highway. KFI on the side helps get you there faster. On the Kentucky Trip Report is sponsored by Staples Store. Right now, during Staples Cinepop, select shares are up to 50% off. Like the Union and Scale Essentials Mix that basket. Now just $89.99 at Staples. In-store only, offered ends $2.25 while supplies last. Staples, the working and learning and saving store. Attention accredited investors. Looking to invest in real estate? Invest with First National Realty Partners. Join more than 2,000 accredited investors who collect rent from Walmart, Target, Whole Foods, Kroger, Publix, and many more. Partner with First National Realty Partners and get access to commercial real estate investments reserved for elite private institutions. Get all the benefits of fully passive real estate ownership, like tax write-offs, quarterly cash distributions, limited liability structures, and the potential for upside and exit. Call now to get information about all of our recent and upcoming projects and learn how you can invest in deals that most people will never find. Call 888-301-9010 or go to FNRTradio.com. Start enjoying the benefits that thousands of accredited investors are already earning. Securities are only available to verified accredited investors. Investments are subject to risk, including market principal. Tax distributions are not guaranteed. Any representations made about investment stability reflect FNRT's strategy and may or may not be realized. Visit FNRTradio.com.
Who can you call 24 hours a day for help with your water heater? Water heaters only. Call 2 or visit waterheatersonly.com. A live expert answers the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Visit waterheatersonly.com. That's water.
RD.com. You can pick up RD show is on now. Dennis Torres said he lost 25 pounds listening to the show. He put his headphones on and walked for 2 hours a night to listen to the show. He lost 25 pounds. You know, so you can also lose weight by listening to the show. The Tim Conway Jr. Show. You just have to put headphones on and start walking around. Live 4 to 7 p.m. on KFI and on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Coming up after the news at the top of the hour, we will get all the latest on what appears to be an arrest this hour of somebody they believe is responsible for the murder of the bishop here in Los Angeles over the weekend, David O'Connell. So we will bring you all the latest details on that.
Along at 11, we'll discuss more about President Biden's surprise trip into Kyiv today. It was going to be in Poland. He landed in Poland and then took a train trip to Kyiv to meet with President Zelensky of Ukraine. President Zelensky, meanwhile, in an interview with a newspaper, warned China against supporting Russia in its war on Ukraine and said that doing so would bring on a world war. Zelensky's comments came as China has said that the United States is in no position to make demands. Of course, our Secretary of State has been warning his Chinese counterpart against China providing lethal weapons to Russia in its war against Ukraine.
You heard about this girl on social media doing all she can to prove she's Madeleine McCann? Or that British girl who went missing in Portugal in 2007 has never been found. Her parents went out, left her there sleeping, and that's the last time anyone saw her. This girl named Julia has made a dedicated Instagram account to share details so she can prove she was Madeleine McCann. She's got 715,000 followers. Her handle is I am Madeleine McCann, and she wants a DNA test of the parents to prove. She says she's got limited memory of her childhood. She's not even sure that she really is 21. She went on Instagram Live saying, I don't remember most of my childhood, but my earliest memory is very strong. It's about holidays in a hot place where there was a beach and white or very light colored buildings with apartments. I don't see my family in this memory, she said.
Do you remember John Mark Carr?
Yes.
The guy who claims that he was the one who jumped out of the Ramsey? Same thing.
Yeah.
Crazy people with a bigger platform.
That's one who attached himself to famous places, yeah.
There are a couple stories that we're following. I mean, obviously the ones that we've mentioned, but also this another earthquake that hit Turkey. A 6.4 magnitude quake that struck within the last hour. So keep an eye on that, see if it has caused any more damage. Well, Google trimmed about 12,000 jobs. Hundreds of former employees went to an online chat room to commiserate about the erratic way the jobs were cut. They were now swapping theories about how management decided who would get the axe and who wouldn't. And they said, could a mindless algorithm carefully designed not to violate any laws have chosen who got the axe?
One person had this opinion in a Discord post, but the Washington Post said they could not verify that post. Google says there was no algorithm involved in their job tech decisions, but former employees are not wrong to wonder because there is a fleet of AI tools that have become ingrained in office life. That HR managers are using machine learning software to analyze millions of employment-related data points, turning out recommendations of who to interview, hire, promote, or help retain.
Is this the new version of Moneyball, where instead of actual human touch and feeling, now granted,
it's on base percentage.
Billy Dean was remarkable. I mean, the team he was able to put together, I bet, were amazing based on statistics. and not on, some old chain smoking, scout bouncing from bus stop to bus stop. But there's got to be a human element that's configured into this, and that I don't feel like
you gotta have a locker room guy. You can't rely on the Giambi brothers to hold that thing down,
right? They're talking about this software is likely dealing with more daunting tasks, helping decide who's going to get cut. A January survey of 300 HR leaders at companies revealed that 98% of them say software and algorithms are going to help them make late year. 98% of them.
In some jobs, you can get away with that. Maker. And your job is to make the widgets on the assembly line. Yeah, you make 75 widgets an hour and I make 15. I'm somebody else and I need to be picked out. And the algorithm can tell you that. But I think in many offices and in many working environments, you're absolutely right. You have to, when you're interviewing somebody, you have to think about what their personality is going to bring to the ecosystem that is the work environment.
And how is that personality going to mesh with the people they work with? If you work in a partnership or if you work in a small team like that.
How are they going to put up with these drug rates? Do they have the tools to put up with them?
And listen, as great as AI is, I don't think that's available yet.
No.
I don't think that has been crunched through the numbers. Human resource companies have taken advantage of AI before, of course. Companies like Eightfold AI use algorithms to analyze billions of data points straight from online career profiles and other skills databases. That supposedly helps recruiters find candidates whose applications might not otherwise surface, which is an interesting way to farm, I guess, the online community for a candidate for a job that you have open. Many people use software to analyze performance data, and I think you're right. If you're widgeting, if you're the greatest widget makers in the world, then you're going to be able to use that. You find who's your top performers, who's the widget king and queen, and then who is the widget topper.
Sometimes I wish I was a widget maker, because at least you have a sense of accomplishment. And you can point to something and say, I did that today. I think I did that in my life. Well, I think I do well with that.
I've said that before to people, to friends of mine who have jobs where they look at whatever they have done.
Yeah.
They built a house.
It feels good to accomplish things.
And we don't from one place to another safely. Right. We walk out of here, we're like, what do we have?
What did we do?
What did we just say?
I think we need to start thinking about maybe ways where we can accomplish something day to day.
Well, Habitat for Humanity is about to lose one of their main. Maybe you start swinging a hammer and start building homes for other people.
Oh, with this screwdriver?
Well, that's not a hammer, but yes. And it's actually a pretty small head on that, so a screwdriver is pretty specific. You're going to want to go with the number 2, Philip says. It's more common.
What's the Habitat for Humanity issue? They're losing people, or what?
They're losing Jimmy Carter.
Oh, right.
So they got someone else. Yeah.
I thought it was a story where they were short people.
No. If you know how to use a framing saw, something like that, you could probably get out there and help them out.
Did you hear about the Ukrainian rescuers that found a group of puppies under rubble of a building? And they're adorable, but when they took a closer look,
they weren't puppies.
The puppies were actually protecting a group of kittens.
That's not true.
I've got video.
Video? Mm-hmm. The puppies were protecting the kittens?
Yes.
Or
they were covering the kittens with their puppy bodies to protect them. Pretty good, isn't it?
Pretty good. I didn't think that was a thing. HR organizations are overwhelmed since the pandemic. They're going to use software to ease their workload. My sister is big when it comes to HR. This would be, I'm assuming, I would have to ask her about it, that this would just be anathema to the idea of what is human resources. I mean, think about it. You're literally, it's in the name, human resources, and you're using artificial intelligence to make some of those HR decisions. Should give people their good grief.
All right, an update on the murder of this bishop over the weekend. Steve Gregory will join us with all the intel he's been able to glean from the sheriff's department. We'll get that coming up next on Gary and Sam. Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the Radio app.
The person of interest. I'm Jennifer Jones-Lee, live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. A man's been taken into custody in connection with the Gay Archdiocese. That's the latest live from KFI.
Well, I'm now at the Hall of Justice, where sheriff officials will know more about that person of interest. I am told by sources within custody over the weekend. It is a person of interest right now. An arrest is imminent, I'm told. There is no information about who this person is, what the motive might be. We're hoping to get all that information at noon. It started 1 p.m. Saturday afternoon in Hacienda Heights when deputies were called to the scene after David O'Connell was found shot at least once in the chest. The deputies arrived, they found him bleeding and unresponsive. He was pronounced dead on the scene. It was at that point that they decided that this was a suspicious homicide. They'll further let us know those details coming up at 12 noon. For now, I'm live downtown Los Angeles. Steve Gregory, KFI News.
News is brought to you by Southern California Edison. A new 6.4 magnitude earthquake has hit Turkey's Hatay province. This earthquake comes 2 weeks after a 7.8 magnitude quake hit the Turkey-Syria border, killing over 46,000 people. President Biden has made an unannounced visit to Ukraine just days before the one-year anniversary of Russia's invasion.
1 year later, he stands. And Ukraine stands. Democracy stands.
Biden traveled to Kyiv, where he met with Ukraine's president.
Kyiv has captured a part of my heart, I must say.
Biden announced another $500 million in U.S. aid to Ukraine. Officials say it could cost up to $4 million to repair a giant sinkhole that developed in Chatsworth during a recent heavy rainstorm. KFI's Blake Crowley reports live from Chatsworth, where he says the Holy Road is closed.
The road connects a gated neighborhood to a windy backcountry road. This woman who lives here, another exit for that neighborhood, says traffic through the gate near her home has remained the same.
I think this is the main entrance for houses up there, so I think the system's the same. I don't think people use that back road as much.
Officials say during last month's powerful rainstorm, an old pipe 50 feet below the ground split because it filled up with mud and rocks. That first pipe caught the ground to give way. 4 people who were in cars that fell in the hole had to be rescued. Caltrans is now trying to determine exactly what type of pipe to replace the broken pipe with. The LA City Council has allocated $500,000 to speed up the repairs. Reporting live in Chatsworth, Blake Crowley, KFI News.
The body of a missing hiker in the San Gabriel Mountains since mid-January has been found. Robert Gregory was reported missing when he didn't come home from a hike near Mount Icklip. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department recovered the body Friday about 300 feet from the summit. The body was found in snow and ice. The person was later confirmed to be Gregory after Julian Sands, who disappeared on Mount Baldy around the same time as Gregory, has not been found. Former President Jimmy Carter is in hospice care in Georgia. People in Atlanta went to the Carter Center yesterday to reflect on his life. One man says he drove his sons at Tower to pay their respects. He says he wanted to teach them a little bit about how great a humanitarian Carter was, especially in the later stages of his life. Carter is 98 and chose hospice over more medical treatment. The National Hit Space beneath the Lincoln Memorial, the NPS says construction for the project is $69 million.
We'll begin construction in March. It's something that's been so long talked about, and we've sweated over the drawings and the plans for this. Let's start the launch. It's going to be really important.
The superintendent says the space will include floor-to-ceiling glass walls and be used to explore the history of Abraham Lincoln. Researchers say a man in Germany has been cured of HIV. They say the man from Düsseldorf has no detectable virus in his body after undergoing stem cell transplant and stopping his HIV medication over 4 years ago.
The primary goal is to cure someone's cancer, but the procedure has also led to an HIV cure in a handful of places.
ABC's Tom Rivers says it's a high-risk procedure that effectively replaces a person's immune system. Researchers say the man is the 5th confirmed case of an HIV cure. About 38.4 million people around the world are living with HIV. And a harrowing war movie has conquered the UK's BAFTA Award.
German film All Quiet on the Western Front won 7 prizes, including Best Picture and Best Director for Edward Berger at the British Academy Film Awards in London. Offbeat Irish comedy The Banshees of Inisherin won 4 last night, including Outstanding British Film. Elvis won 4, including Best Actor for Austin Butler. Keith Blanchard won Best Actress for Tar. Wild metaverse comedy drama Everything Everywhere All at Once got just 1 prize for editing out of 10 nominations. Mark Ron, KFI News.
Here's SoCal weather from KFI. It's mostly sunny today with highs in the mid to upper 60s and a big change starting tomorrow all the way through the week. We'll drop into the upper 30s and 40s overnight, and during the day, just the low to mid 50s with a chance of snow above 2,000 feet, showers off and on all week long, and gusty winds as well. Looks like right now, 58 in Garden Grove, 57 in Orange, 52 in Arcadia, and 59 in Pacific Palisades. Get a look at your drive with DKFI in the sky. We've got a stall on the side.
West Covina on the westbound side of the 10 before via Bird. The stalls big rig, take it away the right lane. The same other half hour, 45 minutes on this problem here. Your backup starting at the 57. We've had a couple of crashes through downtown LA on the eastbound side of the 10. One right past the 110 freeway, one just for Alameda. Those both cleared over the right. So no significant delays as you pass through the area now. Entrance figures and Cerritos, 91 east, 50 to the 605 north. Had been shut down most of the morning to go fast with it over 30. Big rig. That has now been cleared off the freeway as well. We're starting to recover on the eastbound 91 around Bellflower Boulevard. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Bucky. Welcome to the CPAP Games live from the Ace bedroom. It's another eventful night, Bruce. It sure is, Ron. Steve has been flailing everywhere, struggling with his CPAP. His wife, Michelle, is as tense as a fiddle string, trying to contain her rage. Michelle's rolling Steve over. There he goes, and the mask is off. Oh my, the snoring. Michelle throws at elbows. Now a shove. And she's leaving for the couch, taking her place as Hayes' 100-pound lab. That's in that dog crap. With all this struggle, he should get inspired. Absolutely, Bert. Inspire is a sleep apnea treatment to give you comfortable, restful sleep with the click of a remote. It's right, a button. As you sleep, Inspire keeps you breathing normally and sleeping peacefully. There's no mask and no hose. Just sleep. Learn more at InspireSleep.com. That's InspireSleep.com.
Inspire, sleep apnea innovation. Inspire is not for everyone. Help you it's right for you and will be important safety information at InspireSleep.com. What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be UTI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. UTI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't really connect digestive enzymes to break down food. But UTI is use the symptom checker on identifyuti.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyuti.com. Sponsored by Abby. Are you a business owner, CEO, or responsible for marketing? If you are, iHeartMedia can help you reach your goals and find new customers. We reach more consumers in your target area than anywhere else. And we can give you access to those potential customers more cost-effectively across radio, digital, podcasting, and social. We'd love to figure out iHeartMedia can work for you. From the cell dial pound 250 and say keyword great result. That's pound 250 and say great result. Go forward with local and veteran-owned Zipper Solaris. Visit ZipperSolaris.com. More stimulating talk. And iHeart radio station. KFI 40 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio. Joe Biden rode a train for 10 hours from Poland to make his way to Kyiv for a surprise visit, meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky, wearing his signature Ray-Ban sunglasses. He rolled into the Capitol suit, accompanied by the promise of an additional $500 million in weapons for Ukraine. Moderna wanted to start charging more for the vaccine from $110 a dose to $130 a dose. So Senate committee said, hey, why don't you come over and testify about this? And they just happened to, on the same day of getting that invitation, decided to say, no. Everyone in the U.S. will be able to access the vaccine regardless of ability to pay. But it was a money grab, the way it was been from the beginning.
Well, I will say this in defense of the pharmaceutical companies. They've had a really hard time making money.
I know. It's so rough. Nobody's on opioids. No one's on fentanyl. No one's dying from it. And they're poor. Pharmaceutical companies, dirt ass poor.
Guys, where are your guns? Last year saw a record number of guns intercepted at airport checkpoints across the country. 6,500 142 in 1 year. Transportation Safety Administration has said this is a reflection of what's going on in society and that there are more people carrying firearms. Although, anyway, they said the top 10 list for gun interceptions: Dallas, Austin, that sounds right, Florida, Nashville, 3 airports in Florida, I should say, Nashville, Atlanta, Phoenix, and Denver. So, not a huge surprise.
Steve Gregory is on top of this story that turned out to be the murder of a beloved bishop here in Los Angeles. And Steve, we're hearing from some outlets that somebody has been detained. Other outlets are saying he's been arrested. Where do we stand?
Well, the source that I spoke with at Homicide Bureau told me a few minutes ago that a person of interest has been detained and is being questioned. And it was characterized to me that an arrest is imminent. So whether that person's officially been booked or not, we're not sure. I am told the sheriff will have a press conference at 12 noon. I'm at the Hall of Justice now in anticipation of that press briefing. And we were told that about 1 p.m. on Saturday afternoon, deputies were sent to the home in Hacienda Heights. This is a diocese-owned home where David O'Connell lived. And when they arrived, they found the bishop in bed, single gunshot wound. He was bleeding, unresponsive, and life-saving efforts did not work. And at that point, they got into a hospital, and then soon after that, when homicide investigators arrived, they determined the murder was, or actually the homicide at the time, was suspicious in nature. And there's been all kinds of theories floating around, but now we are seeing some public reports as well that somehow the murder was tied to a woman that may have had access to the diocese home, and that somehow that woman's tied to the person who's in custody.
Yeah, the cinematic version, I think, is where all of our minds leapt to initially. That would be somebody who survived priest abuse, is resentful, and attacked this bishop on the street. But in fact, it was his home, no forced entry, so it seems like it was a personal, in some regard,
Yeah, and then we're told to be informed, taken into custody in Corinth. So we're hoping to get all those details kind of buttoned up, and you're absolutely right. It is amazing. It's so unusual. It's just kind of like if you think about the mass shooting in Monterey Park, how unusual that circumstance was with a 72-year-old man killing those people, and how everyone went to some very obvious sort of themes, or narratives. Same thing here, as you mentioned. I think everyone kind of went dark in dark places on this one, thinking, how on earth could a bishop be gunned down in his own home? But as you mentioned, no signs of forced entry. The published reports now suggest that a woman involved may have had unfettered access to the home, and that's how the shooter got in. We are hoping we'll get all those details from under pretty quickly. So it's clearly not, well, the assumption is it's not random, which I think would have been the opposite of what we're not talking about, but not quite sure why the bishop would have been targeted. Steve, thanks, we appreciate it. We'll check back in. You got it, guys. Steve's out there. And again, Steve mentioned, get an update from the sheriff's department. This bishop, who we mentioned this last hour, got a reputation for bringing back some of the relationships between these neighborhoods that were torn up after the Rodney King riots in the 90s and the police. The current sheriff, Robert Luna, referred to the bishop as a peacemaker. He said he had a passion serving those in need while improving our community. That my heart grieves after learning of the murder. The Archbishop also put out a statement. Jose Gomez told parishioners that O'Connell passed away unexpectedly Saturday, but it wasn't until yesterday morning that the Sheriff's Department released a statement saying that the death was being handled as a murder.
Very different.
Those are two very different situations.
Yeah.
But the Archbishop said, we're deeply disturbed and saddened. Let us continue to pray for Bishop Dave and his family. Let us pray for law enforcement officials so they continue their investigation into this terrible crime.
Well, get ready to say goodbye to that big ball of fire you see in the sky today, because the storm is on the way. Winter is about to return to Southern California.
With a vengeance, apparently. Gary and Shannon will continue in just a moment. Jennifer Jones-Lee has an update on this. What's going on?
Well, President Biden says the U.S. will be providing Ukraine with $500 million in new military aid. China is dismissing claims the country is considering supplying military aid to to Russia for the war in Ukraine. And Airbnb is celebrating the historic 35-year run of Phantom of the Opera with an exclusive stay at the venue that inspired it all. Check out weather from KFI, because Jerry and Shannon were talking about in the mid to upper 60s, and Arctic blast comes in tomorrow. That means temperatures will just be in the 50s for the rest of the week, with the rain, wind, and snow in the forecast. Let's get a look at your drive with BKFI in the sky. We're checking out your drive on the 15th. The north side of the 15, just before the 91 freeway. It's kind of there along the west side of the starting around Ontario Avenue. I think a bit of a slowdown now on the west side of the 91 as well. Heading into Corona, here, heading towards about Kinley Street, then it opens up moving well, heading towards the 71. You'll see some minor delays again on the west side of the 91 from the Imperial Highway heading towards the 55 freeway. Eastbound 91, a little bit slow from Lakewood Boulevard heading towards the 605, where the earlier stalled there crash from the big rig has been cleared out of your way. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robert Bucky. This report is sponsored by TRILLIONAIRE.com. The check is good, the experience is smooth, and the reviews online are wonderful. At TRILLIONAIRE.com. They don't call us America's Best Car Buyer for nothing. Sell us your car. Hey, Team Sharp, California just changed the laws for solar, and sadly, it means new solar customers will get 75% less compensation. The good news is you can lock in the great rates of the current system, but you need to have your solar documents filed by April 14th, which means now is the time to call Sunlux. If you're even thinking about solar, call Sunlux and get your solar documents filed. There is no time to wait. Start today at sunlux.com, sunlux.com. PSLB 1008374.
For President's Day at Scandinavian Design Furniture. For a limited time only, get great values on select modern furniture and home decor at Scandinavian Design. Items are in stock and selling fast. Ask for details when you shop one of their 5 Los Angeles locations or shop online at ScandinavianDesigns.com.
Twin Las Vegas welcomes you to Awakening, a new theatrical experience created by award-winning artists. Enriched by spectacular sound, meet colorful characters, and journey with them through wondrous realms. Experience Awakening. Get more tickets at awakening.com. Contractor license 1047-781. Here are some homeowners today. We fit together. One is our team rejuvenation, where we help you prevent breakdowns by performing 6 critical adjustments for just $129. Another one is your on-call unit drains for just $80 with a 30-foot drain snake. And we're on call 24/7, 365 days a year. And our drain cleaning service is just $80. So nice at $30 plus. Get air conditioning and plumbing. COECTL.com. We do things the right way, not the easy way.
The best part about taking deep cold surgery to trust next day energy at night is actually the next morning. I wake up alert with none of the drowsiness from taking too much melatonin. Purity Sleep Plus Next Day Energy is a bi-layer tablet with immediate release melatonin and extended release B vitamins to help me fall asleep naturally and wake refreshed. It's my secret weapon for a great night's sleep. Have a great morning. Hi, Mom. Can't beat that.
You people, here's these dummies. Sleep better, wake your back.
At Ralph, shopping with pickup and delivery is the same as shopping in store. Same low prices, deals, and rewards on the same high-quality items. One small push for groceries, one big win for busy families everywhere. Start your cart today at Ralph.com. Ralph, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. Please like to be there.
Right now, you can score 4 for 5. Mix and match participating items and get 4 saves for $5 with your card. Check it out and save today. Solving homelessness will cost $8 billion every year for more than a decade. That's a tremendous amount of money. You just get more people coming out. Figures, gone, and gas. Absolute rocket. Live 1 to 4 p.m. on KFI. And on demand anytime on the iHeartRadio app.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. All the latest on President Biden's surprise trip to Kyiv today. We'll have that for you coming up when we talk about Washington at 11 a.m. Also, we've got some train reform on deck that the president is calling for. Have you heard about this massive seaweed blob heading to Florida?
Stephen King type event.
Yeah, just the smell of that. Ooh, you get up on that beach and just sit there. Former President Jimmy Carter, the longest-lived American president, has entered home hospice at his home in Plains, Georgia. Statement from the Carter Center said the former president decided to spend his remaining time at home with family and keep hospice care instead of additional medical intervention. Did a series of relatively small medical things go on in the last couple of months, but when you're 98, I don't know if there is such thing as a small medical event. But he's 98 years old. He said that the statement from the center said he has the full support of his medical team and his family, and they're asking,
holding on to their pearls or just throwing their hands in the air and setting their hair on fire to talk about more rules. There are people actually doing something about it. And there was a great article in the New York Times about an outfit called Advanced Peace and the way that they are tackling gun violence and doing it in a very surgical manner, and it seems like it is a great idea.
Speaking of gun violence, a strange story, strange twist, I guess, to the Alec Baldwin story. The Santa Fe County DA has had to drop a key charge against Alec Baldwin in response to that shooting on the set of Rush. The DA dropped a gun enhancement charge in the case just after one of Baldwin's lawyers Baldwin had been charged with involuntary manslaughter with the gun enhancement charge, but which was using a gun to commit the crime. The problem is that's not the law that was in place at the time of the shooting. The one in place at the time of the shooting said it could only be applied if the gun was branded. If he was displaying the gun
in a threatening manner
to intimidate, yeah, which clearly was not the case. So the law did take effect 7 months or something afterwards. So they got a little red tape.
Another storm headed for Southern California later this week. It's going to be cold. There's going to be a lot of rain, so maybe it's a good time to work from home or continue to work from home.
I was looking at the forecast over the grapevine, and if you just add up the amount of snow that is forecast between Tuesday and Sunday, 15 inches of snow between Tuesday and Sunday expected over the grapevine, at the highest point up in the Lebec area. 14 inches of snow possible.
The National Weather Thursday to be the coldest day of the winter. Coastal and valley high temps only in the 40s and lower. Dangerous conditions along the coast starting tomorrow night. High seas, strong winds, high surf. Don't get in the water. Be careful out there. You're surfing.
This is the part that blows me away. Listen, I've grown up on the West Coast. I've lived on the West Coast my entire life, so the temperatures very rarely get below freezing. And when they do, it's for a couple of days at a time, right? Some of the coldest times I've ever, the coldest temperature I think I ever was in Central Oregon. But listen to the way that they write this up. Tips to protect yourself and your loved ones from frigid temperatures.
Now, let me just pump the brakes on where I know you're going, because the last time we had winter in California, I was making fun of the turnaround, don't drown warning that you hear broadcast over whichever station you prefer to listen to. And I'm thinking, do people really need to be told that? That is so ridiculous. And then, what did you see countless times on the news? People driving into flooded out streets. It's true. People do need to have these checks. Not everybody's working with the same desk you and I have been dealt. And I'm not saying it's full, but I am saying that there's more cards in it than for some people that need to be told to dress in layers of warm clothing.
I say this, the fourth thing on this list should be first, which is check on and help any family members, friends, or neighbors you know with limited mobility, limited access to these seniors, those who are sick. Check on them frequently, or invite them to your home because you have a gas bill that you pay, although you have to take out a second mortgage to do so. Dress in layers of warm clothing if you plan to be outdoors. How long does it take you to realize that you have underdressed?
I know.
40 degrees
it's like we're not 6 years old, are we? We don't need to be told to put on a jacket if you're going outside.
Protect your head, hands, and feet from the cold by wearing a hat, scarf, gloves, and socks.
Yeah. A lot of people go without.
Yeah, and they look like morons. If if you have pets, bring them indoors. Do not leave them outside overnight. That, I think, is probably...
You left your dog outside not that long ago.
What?
Yeah, you let your dog out in the morning to do his business, and then you forgot to let him back in. Now, luckily, your wife was coming home. Well, someone
It wasn't 40 degrees or 30 degrees.
It's just like when you gave away your cat, Kevin.
Is it exactly like that?
Yeah.
It's exactly.
I decided to choose violence and get you in trouble today with the animal people.
So anyway, those who do not have location transportation information available by calling the LA County Information Line at 211. You need a warm shelter. I also thought it was funny that on the one hand, the LA Times has a big breathless headline that we've got, snow and rain on the way and probably the coldest temperature. At the same time, they published an article that said that high heat is killing homeless people. I am in a study, and I understand it, but you could have both. Well, you could, but wait a couple of weeks before you're not running the headline right next to it that says, prepare for frigid temperatures. So, the other thing about this is that they were describing this as being a long, slow storm that's going to roll across the country and affect a bunch of other places. You're going to see blizzard conditions in other areas. Some avalanche warnings across the west. Speaking of avalanche, I have a quick thing to tell you, but I'll get to that in a second. But they said 18 states on alert for snow, winds, and blizzard conditions. In the south, however, they're talking about very strong thunderstorms and even a heat wave possible. The February heat wave expected from Texas up to Washington, D.C. 85 degrees in Dallas is the forecast tomorrow. 86 degrees in Orlando, Florida. In New Orleans, it would be one of the warmest Mardi Gras in recorded history. The temperature Tuesday is forecast to be 80 degrees. No one will wear clothes in the French Quarter. That's my guess. You don't remember this, I don't think. But speaking of avalanche and strange weather, the avalanche at Alpine Meadows ski resort near Tahoe in 1982, it would have been March of 82.
That was the same year as the Great Flood, wasn't it?
It exactly was, but it was a couple of months later. They had ridiculous amounts of snow, and Alpine Meadows, being one of the smaller places, had to do its own avalanche control, and they did a bunch of ski bombs up there, 20-year-old jocks that were just loving life and using Vietnam-era explosives to knock down snow after big storms. And the documentary that I saw over the weekend is either called Buried or Burial. I think it's Buried. That's all. And it's all about interviewing those guys now who are well into their 60s, talking about their time as the, fly by the seat of their pants ski patrol guys and what happened in that avalanche that eventually buried part of the lodge itself. And they pulled one woman out of that thing alive a few days after the actual avalanche. They had closed the resort, otherwise there would have been hundreds of people potentially killed because they knew the storm was going to be that bad. It was really, really well done. And if you remember anything from that time, this brings back all of those memories.
Do you remember the book Avalanche by Arthur J. Roth?
I think I read that.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite books of childhood or middle school.
It's buried, right? And then worked his way out of it? Or
I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. It's also been 30 years since I read it.
But it's the first person account, right, of having been buried.
No.
No?
No.
No?
No.
I read one where it was the first person.
Terrifying.
Didn't seem nice at all.
Speaking of not nice, gun violence. Everyone likes to have an opinion on this, but there are people that are actually doing something on the ground floor. And I think the surgical nature of how they're trying to tackle gun violence is genius, and it's working.
We'll talk about it. Coming up, Gary and Shannon will continue to look for that. Deborah Mark is live in the KFI 24-hour newsroom.
A person of interest has been detained in connection with the murder of a bishop from the LA Archdiocese.
Sources inside the LA County Sheriff's Department Homicide Bureau say a man has been taken into custody and is being questioned over the shooting death of David O'Connell. On Saturday afternoon, deputies were sent to a home in Hacienda Heights where they found O'Connell bleeding and unresponsive. He's been shot at least once in the chest. O'Connell was in LA 45 years and is best known for his role in mending relationships between LAPD and the black community following the Robinson riots in 1992. Church says he was also well loved in the immigrant community. Gregory Codify News.
Former LA Mayor Garcetti says the city has lost one of its most beautiful angels. Garcetti posted on Twitter that O'Connell was a friend for many years. LA County Sheriff Robert tweeted that O'Connell was a peacemaker and had a passion serving those in need while improving the community. The news is brought to you by Three Things Accident Attorney, an alleged hit-and-run driver who was improving the community. The news is brought to you by Three Things Accident Attorney, an alleged hit-and-run driver who crashed into the back of an LA County Sheriff's deputy's SUV in Palmdale has been arrested. The crash at 6th Street East and Palmdale Boulevard happened after midnight. The driver ran away but was found a short time later. Deputies say both cars were pretty badly damaged. Two men have been shot near the South Bay Pavilion Mall in person. One of them was killed. Deputies say both cars were pretty badly damaged. Two men have been shot near the South Bay Pavilion Mall in person. One of them was killed. LA County Sheriff's deputies were called overnight about an assault with a deadly weapon.
Deputies conducted a check in the area, found a car collided into a rifle, and there they found two males, both suffering from apparent gunshot wounds to their torsos.
The guy who survived is in stable condition, and true crime shows may help save your life.
At least 76% of people who were polled in a new survey say market research company One Poll talked with 2,000 people, and roughly 3 out of 4 of respondents said they feel watching true crime shows helps them avoid similar situations. The survey also found 71% of people felt watching these types of shows made them less trusting of people. And fun fact, 44% of people surveyed admit to having a favorite serial killer, and 67% of those people say they'd like a chance to chat with one. Jennifer Jones, Blue, KFI News.
Starfine weather from KFI. Sunny with highs in the 60s to low 70s. For Metro LA, mid-60s to mid-70s in San Gabriel and San Fernando Valley. 60s higher. Then it's going to be much colder tomorrow, and we have rain, wind, and snow heading our way later in the week. Right now, 62 in Field Beach and 65 in Ladera Ranch. We are heading our way later in the week. Right now, 62 in Field Beach and 65 in Ladera Ranch. We are going to go to 5 in North.
Yeah, program on the northbound side of the 5, leaving Norwalk Boulevard off and on between Legion Park, southbound side of the 5, busy as well. Commerce Express from Atlanta heading towards the 605. A new crash now being reported on the northbound side of the 5 as well, and still marked just before the 210 freeway, second lane from the left block there. Watch for the lane. Turn away from the 405 merge. And problem in Irvine on the 5 freeway, northbound side just past St. Canyon. Side just past St. Canyon.
Reach your goals. Right now, get a lifetime unlimited subscription with forever access to all 25 of Rosetta Stone's languages for 40% off. Visit rosettastone.com today and save 40%. Rosetta Stone, how languages learn.
Dell Technologies President's Day business event starts now with savings on select performance PCs powered by 12-gen Intel Core processors, plus savings on essential accessories and free shipping. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. Yeah. Visit QKTheater.org or call 833-422-4255. Now you better take your free COVID-19. Brought by the California Department of Public Health. If your business has 5 or more employees, they save up to $26,000 per employee. That's real money. Not alone either. A refund of your taxes. The trick is getting your hands on it. Complicated, lots of red tape. So let me suggest going to getrefunds.com. Their team of tax attorneys are experts in this little-known payroll tax refund program, and they've already returned $1 billion to businesses. And it can probably help you too. No charge up front, they share a percentage of the cash that they get for you. And businesses of all types can qualify, including those that get PPP money and nonprofits. Even if you have increases in sales, you can qualify. To find out if your business does qualify, go to getrefunds.com, click on the Qualify Me button, answer a few questions, they start to work. Getrefunds.com, getrefunds.com.
Injured in an accident? Visit superhomelesssupervillains.com.
Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music radio podcasts. AMI, AM64. The name, what it means, why it matters. During scanning, 5 a.m. to 40 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. I mean, the meals that I used to eat at that place.
So I gained at least 15 pounds my first year.
I'm amazed when I figure out what we used to do to that place.
Oh my God. And I know there's like 3 options. There's like a chicken teriyaki bowl or like potatoes,
Right.
you know? And there were not healthy options, I would say.
No, they weren't.
In that dining hall.
Swamp Watch comes along at the top of the hour. We'll revisit the president and his trip into Kyiv today. He was in Poland and then hopped on a train for that 10-hour trip into Ukraine where he met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and promised an additional $500 million in weapons for Ukraine. Of course, while he was there had to be an air raid siren because that's what we do. They were concerned that a 31 was heading south from Belarus and was armed with a hypersonic missile. So they sounded the air raid sirens. Apparently that's the plane never materialized.
There was a man by the name of Jerome Bogan. He began an organization called Advanced Peace. He realized he wanted to do some violence prevention work, and he started in Richmond, up in the Bay Area, in 2009. If you know Richmond, you know it's a hotbed of gang activity, of shootings, and it was a good place to start. Let's just say that. Law enforcement experts at the time told Jerome that 70% of the violence was tied to just 17 people that year in 2009. Most of those 17